How you doing today? And welcome to Pamela May Charters. Hey, we're getting ready for the weekend, and it looks like Saturday is going to be a great day to get out there on the river and do some fishing. So I figured today we go through some of our little striper schoolie box and get some things rigged up for tomorrow. So the first go-to that I always like to go to is the Cocoa minnow with the jig head. So just wanted to show you how to do that. You get that blank jig head with the hook, and you get your Cocoa minnow. You want to keep it facing straight up, and all you want to do is put the hook through the middle of the front of the fish here and work it back until you get about halfway down the top center of the fish's top fin. Then just continue pushing it through, line it all up, and you got it on the jig. Another go-to in the river is, of course, the grub, curly tail grub, and that's on the same kind of jig head. Just show you how to do that. Same kind of deal. Got the jig head, the hook, the grub. You want to go through the top center of the grub, and this one's a little bit longer of a shank on the hook, so I'm going to go a little further back and then pop out through the middle and just push it onto the hook. You got your curly tail grub. A few other go-tos in the river are the sluggo, and as you can see, it's a little different. This is a swim bait hook, tied on here, hooks here. Just kind of go through what we do there. We get the sluggo. On a sluggo, there's a flat spot, and then there's like a rounded belly. So you want the hook to come out the flat spot down here. So what you do first is go through the top middle of the head, and then you go down maybe, I don't know, 1/4 inch, and pop out through that rounded belly. And then you're going to pull it up almost to where the eye of the hook is. And you're going to spin the hook towards the belly. And then kind of crunch the sluggo a little bit. Put it through the center of the belly and pop out through that flat spot. And then once you tie on, you go ahead and you tie on your leader or straight to your reel. You're going to pop that over so that kind of covers it up. And then you can see the hook is kind of flat, laying flat. It's not exposed, laying flat. You want it to look something like that. Another thing that we use in the river that's really popular is the actual Ron Z. That's just another different jig head. You can also buy the little curly tails. They're pretty flat, simple and easy, almost like the grub. You just want to put that on your hook, get about to where you can push that shank on, slide it on up, and you get your Ron Z. Pretty deadly in the river. Okay, another great hook is a swim bait, but with this swim bait, it has a weighted shank, so it can get down there and get into your holes for those stripers. This as well has this little curly thing here. I don't know what you call it, but it looks like a spring, and it really is useful to put on. Let's say we got this clam worm, we want to put that on there. We're gonna drive that spring down to the center top of the clam worm, and we're gonna just twist that worm right on there. So it kind of holds the worm in place on the hook. So kind of just like what we did with the sluggo, we used that top part to hold on the top part of the hook. And then we kind of pushed in the hook to set it here. You can't really do that with this because you can't get over that weight when you drive that front of the sluggo or a clam worm over that weighted hook here. Can't do that. It won't rip the whole plastic rubber part apart. So they got this nice little spring on the weighted hooks so that you don't have to do that. And then you kind of give it a little bit of a pinch so you get enough room to run straight right in the middle. You put your hook, come out in the middle of the other side. Sometimes you're going to have to adjust that. This looks like a little too tight, so I want to pinch it up a little bit more. And there you go. Just like the Sluggo, it's running, but you get that weight to get you down. Once it gets in the hole, you kind of working off the bottom. That's another great lure, deadly in the river. One thing I did leave out that's really deadly too is the small, tiny Sluggos here. This is like a pink. There's also bubblegum, works really well. Just use it on a small jig head. Okay, some of the other things that I like to use in the river besides the Cocahos and the Sluggos are some plugs. So on our last episode of Pamela May 101, we kind of learned how to take out your trebles and put these single inline hooks. This right here is a 3D popper, and you can see it's got the flat blunt nose there, and that's enabled for it to pop along. This one really puts up a really big splash. That splash attracts the fish. So once you start casting, you want to kind of use the rod to pop it back and forth, and that's why they're called poppers. They pop and they splash, make a really loud noise, attract the fish to the top. Another popper here, pretty good one. This is Little Daughter. You can see that has also that nose. This sinks a little bit, but it's tended to not just push along, but actually dart back and forth as you pop that line. And so this will dart back and forth as well as splash, make a little bit of a noise there when it does splash, and that attracts fish. You got your classic SP minnow. You can see that I modified this a little bit. I kept the treble hook on because when we did put the single hook on here, it was really getting wrapped around the top of the body and losing the action. This is a swimmer plug, so this is going to swim down that little lip in the front there. When you're retrieving it, will pull the water and kind of make it swim down. This is really deadly in the river as well. You got that single hook in the back that helps it not get hooked in the gills and stuff, but you still have that treble hook in the front, which usually a fish will grab it right here in the front or on the side, not really in the back, and they'll get stuck there. But what you want to really eliminate with the single hook is that getting hooked and get back at the gills. So that helps out really well too. Another classic lure is the popper. This is a pencil popper, and this also does the same thing. As you can see, it has that blunt nose, and this actually spits up a little thing of water and kind of attracts the fish as well. Just like a regular popper, kind of pops and dots back and forth, giving some action. One of the go-to lures that I really like to use for stripers is the Super Spook. The Super Spook is really a blunt nose, and you can put those two single hooks on, but this really does a great job for stripers. You can walk the dog with it, which it kind of moves back and forth. You don't really have to pop it as much, just a little bit of movement on the rod, and it actually kind of walks the dog and dots back and forth. It sits right up top, it floats. Really great lure for stripers. So all these things really work well for early season in the river or in your estuaries for schoolie stripers. So tomorrow's a good day. Get some of these things prepared and get ready. Get out there and catch some fish. Thank you. Have a great day.